Hey everyone, Harris O'Malley from DrNerdLove.com, brought to you by my generous patrons at patreon.com/DrNerdLove. Recently, there has been an interesting phenomena going on. Maybe you've experienced it yourself. There has been a surge of folks who are suddenly hearing from their exes. Over the last month and change, people have had their exes texting, hitting them up on WhatsApp, or sliding back into their DMs, apparently out of the clear blue sky. And it's not just thirsty dudes hoping to score some quarantine rebound sex. This phenomena crosses all lines: gender, sexuality, even people who got dumped and the people who did the dumping. Why is this suddenly happening? Well, blame it on the pandemic. When you're in a time of uncertainty and chaos, there is an almost instinctual desire to reach for the comfort of the known and the familiar. We want something ordinary that we can cling to in a sea of chaos. And for a lot of folks, especially those who don't have a romantic partner that they're holed up with, there's also that desire for the personal connection. And just between you and me, if we're being perfectly honest, a lot of folks are bored and looking for anything to change things up. All of this leads to a very important question, especially if you're one of the folks who's had an ex reach out to them. Should you get back together with your ex? Now, this feels like the easiest question to answer. No. And all sarcasm aside, more often than not, that is the correct answer. In fact, I've coached a lot of folks on when and how to get their ex back, and most of them came back and said that it was a mistake and they shouldn't have done it. Most of the time, your ex is your ex for a reason, and it is better to leave that relationship in the past where it belongs. And you know, I've been there, I've done that, printed the t-shirts. There was one relationship that just straight f***ed me up for years, with someone that I tried to get back with multiple times. And all that happened was that I got my heart broken repeatedly by the same woman, because that relationship could never, ever work. But there isn't any denying that there's an appeal to going back to previous relationships. There's the comfort of the known, especially in times of crisis. There's the desire to try to fix things or to deal with regrets, either about things not said or things left undone, or simply because you miss them. But the fact of the matter is that the brain has a way of editing out all the bad parts and making us focus on the highlights, usually from the early days of the relationship, while tinting the whole thing with the nostalgia filter that makes it seem like, you know what, those bad bits weren't really so bad. It's only when we either relive those moments or talk things through with someone who doesn't have those nostalgia goggles on that we realize just what it is that we've been leaving out of the replay in our heads. All of that is why most of the time going back is just an invitation to the 12-inch extended dance remix of your last breakup with that person. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, exes can make it work. And the way that you know whether this is a bad idea or a good idea all depends on how you answer these 5 questions. Question number 1. Why did you break up in the first place? Understanding why you broke up is probably one of the most important parts of deciding whether to get back with your ex, especially if you were the one who got dumped. And I can't emphasize this enough. It needs to be an honest and unflinching look at why you broke up from your ex's perspective, not just a self-pitying,
"Oh, she dumped me because she thought she could do better. Some other guy certainly had more value than me."
The most painful or humiliating answer isn't automatically the correct one. In fact, a lot of times it is so wrong that it was never actually a factor in the breakup at all. It's an invention of your sense of loss and low self-esteem, not reality. But the truth is, a lot of guys can't do this. Either they have their pet theory and they're sticking to it, or they got an answer early on, which may not be the real answer. Sometimes even the person who ended things may not know the real reason why until years down the line with time and perspective. So ask yourself, why did you break up? Did you just grow apart? Was there some fundamental conflict that you couldn't overcome? Did you have a fight and say things that hurt so badly that it left a wound that couldn't be healed? Understanding why you broke up and what your role in it was, if anything, it may not have involved you at all, is vital, because that leads us to the next question. Question number 2. Has the reason why you broke up in the first place changed? This is the question that tends to trip a lot of people up. A lot of times the answer is very simply no. This may be because they couldn't answer question number 1, or because they didn't have the right answer. It could be because there hasn't been enough time after the relationship for both parties to grow and to change. Honestly, a lot of folks are most eager to get back with their ex within the first year or so after the breakup. But other times, the answer is no, because the root of the problem is one that simply can't change. If, for example, you broke up because you were too needy and not emotionally able to handle the relationship, or one or both of you weren't in the right place to be dating, that's one thing. That's something that you can actually work on and grow past. Or maybe things happened outside of the relationship. Losing your job, the death of a loved one, that put too much external stress on the relationship and it ended with you two splitting up. After all, relationships need 3 things to make it out of the initial stages: the right person, the right place in life, and the right time for both parties to be able to grow and maintain it. If those 3 things don't line up, the relationship can't happen. But it could happen later down the line. On the other hand, however, if the problem is deeper than that, a conflict of, say, religious values, or one of you wanted children and the other one didn't, one of you was non-monogamous and the other one wasn't, those could all still be in effect, and trying to go back under those circumstances just means that this new relationship is going to be second verse, same as the first, a little bit shorter and a whole lot worse. And sometimes getting the answer to this question will require a lot of talking and a heart-to-heart discussion with your ex before anything else can happen. These days, I'm actually good friends with the ex who broke my heart because we had a long and involved conversation about what happened, why it happened, and how we both contributed to the breakup. Until we had that conversation, we couldn't have even been friends. And all of this is especially true if either or both of you cheated. If you can't discuss it, if you can't forgive one another, and can't rebuild or re-earn each other's trust, don't bother trying to get back together. It's only going to go badly. Question number 3. Why now? This one's more important than people tend to think. Why are you thinking of getting back together now? Why are you reaching out to them, or are they reaching out to you? Or why are you thinking about maybe taking them back now? Is there something about them that makes them right for you in this moment and you're willing to give it another chance? Is it because something external triggered this? Such as, say, you saw that they were dating again and now you're jealous? Or maybe because you saw that they're single again and thought there was a window of opportunity? Or is it just that you're lonely, horny, or simply haven't been able to move on? You honestly can't get back with your ex and have it work this time if you haven't gotten over them in the first place or given yourself closure on the relationship. You'll be too afraid of losing them again. You'll be too needy, too clingy, too hyper-vigilant of any potential warning sign. As a result, you won't be able to relax and be your authentic self, which will just end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you'll just end up getting your heart broken for a second or possibly even third time. This is a time when you need to be very self-aware and honest. It is incredibly easy to convince yourself that you're ready when in fact you're not. That's actually part of the lesson of 500 Days of Summer. Tom still hadn't processed why things with Summer didn't work and thought that it was simply a matter of time instead of an incompatibility that rested at the foundation of their relationship. So, think long and hard about this question before you answer it. Question number 4. Do you miss them or do you miss what they represent? A lot of folks want to get back with their ex, not because of their ex specifically, but because of what their ex represents to them. They may want to go back because they're lonely and it feels easier to try to go back to someone they know than it does to try to do the work to find a new partner and a new relationship. They may have a nasty case of one-itis, where they are convinced that she is the one, the only person they could ever love, ultimately making her more of a figurehead or an idea than an actual person. Other times, what they want is the validation of dating her. They want the proof that there's someone who could get a girlfriend like that. She's less of a person and more of a trophy, something that makes him look and feel better. Or it could be that breaking up with them, especially if it had been a long-term relationship, was a major disruption in your life and you want the comfort of all those familiar patterns. Breaking up with someone you've dated for a long time can be like losing a limb. You've gotten used to simply having them in your life and now you're having to relearn how to live without them. And that's hard. Or it could even be something as simple and petty as, I don't want someone else touching my stuff, or the things I want most are the things I can't have. But it could well be that no, the two of you really did work well together and the breakup was either something that could have been avoided or the result of right person, wrong time and place. You know better now, you're a better person than you were before, and you're ready to make things work in ways that you weren't able or capable of when you dated the first time. However, if you had or are still having a hard time getting over your ex, this is often the reason why. You're focused more on what they represent than on them as a person. And honestly, you're better off dealing with that issue and learning to give yourself closure than to try to go back and start things up again. And along those lines, we have the most important question that you need to answer before you decide whether you should go back to your ex. Question number 5. Are they right for you now? One critical mistake that people make, one that they're often not aware of when they try to get back with their ex, is that they are thinking of their ex the way that he or she was before the breakup. Their concept of her is frozen in time, like an insect trapped in amber. The problem is that she wasn't and isn't. She is not the same person she was back then because time moves forward and life goes on whether we want it to or not. People change, and the person that they are now is not the person that you dated. They've had new experiences, gained new perspective, learned new things about themselves, and while they may seem familiar, they're often profoundly different in ways that you're not aware of yet. By that same token, you aren't in the same place in life that you were either. You've changed too. Those changes are why you can't go back to how things were even as much as you wish that you could. A lot of your desire to get your ex back is out of the desire to have that same relationship that you had before it all fell apart. And that's impossible. You can't step into the same river twice, and you can't date the same person the same way that you did before. The things that brought you together the first time aren't there anymore. If you want to try to date your ex again, you have to treat this as a new relationship. Trying to slot it into the ways that things were before is going to be the quintessential problem of the square peg trying to fit into the round hole. Old patterns mean old mistakes and partners that simply don't fit. And by that same token, that new relationship may not be right for you, especially if you're hoping that it'll be like the old one, just with a bug fix. If you can't see your ex as the person that they are now, a person that you'll have to get to know and evaluate differently than the person that you used to know, then it's simply a bad idea to try to go back. But if you have strong, positive answers for all of these questions, well, to be perfectly honest, I'm still of the opinion that it's not always a good idea. But if you do have answers to all of these questions and you want to make the attempt, you have a better chance of making things work now than you did before. Just make sure that you proceed with caution. And be sure to come back next time, because I'll teach you how to get your ex back the right way. And one more thing, if you want to develop the skills that will transform your dating life, become the person you've always wanted to be, and help you find that new special someone when you're ready, then you'll want to sign up for the beta test of my upcoming program, The Dating Accelerator, an 8-week seminar where I will be teaching you and a very limited number of students how to transform your dating life and help you build the kind of social success you have always dreamed of. I've extended the signups for this because of the pandemic and to give folks a chance to get settled and more secure before deciding whether it's time for them to invest in themselves. But the signups will close. And because this is the beta test, people who sign up now are getting the beta test pricing. The price of the program will go up later on. So if you want in, now's the time. If you're ready to take your love life to the next level, then be sure to join the NerdLove Academy Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Dr. NerdLove for information on how you can sign up to be part of the Dating Accelerator program. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And now you've heard from me, and I want to hear from you. Have you had an ex reach out to you, or are you thinking of reaching out to an ex? Share your story in the comments below. I can't wait to read them, and I know everybody else can't wait to read them either. Meanwhile, if you want to take time during the quarantine to really practice your social skills, learn how to talk to strangers, and turn people you've just met into friends and lovers, then check out my book, New Game Plus, The Geek's Guide to Love, Sex, and Dating. This is the instruction manual that you have always wanted, the A to Z guide for learning how to develop and unleash your inner Casanova and find the kind of relationship that you have always wanted, whether it's for a lifetime or just that night. Links to buy it are in the show notes, so go check it out. And if you do, or for that matter, if you check out any of my other books, please be sure to rate and review it on Amazon and Goodreads. It is a huge help. Meanwhile, if you are digging the series, you know what to do. This is not your first time on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, share it with all your friends, ring the bell for notifications, yakety schmackety, yada yada yada. But if you are really enjoying these videos, and I mean really enjoying them, if you feel like you're getting a lot out of it, you're finding that it's helping you, and you want to support the channel and in the process help fund some awesome new projects and content, then consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Dr. NerdLove. Even $1 is a huge help. Support from my patrons covers the hosting, the equipment cost, and it's like I'm always saying, I can't do this without the help of my patrons, so thank you all so very much. Meanwhile, you can follow me on Twitter at Dr. NerdLove. Join the private Facebook group NerdLove Academy at facebook.com/groups/Dr. NerdLove. And as always, hit the logo to subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will see you here next time with more about love, sex, and dating. Thanks for watching.